Caitlin Clark has officially been named a starter on Team USA's newest roster, while Angel Reese has been bumped to the bench, and that single announcement sent the entire basketball world into a frenzy, though not for the reasons most people expected. Reese's fiery reaction to losing her spot has dragged every old storyline right back into the spotlight, from the accusations of intentional hard fouls, to her ongoing attempts to keep up with Clark's rise, even outside of basketball, like Caitlin's viral crossover into golf. What was supposed to be a clean slate showdown at the December Duke training camp might end up doing the exact opposite. Instead of closing the gap, it may expose just how wide that gap really is. If you're riding with Caitlin, drop hashtag babygoat over babygiraffe in the comments. That December camp is more than just another practice session. For Clark, it's the moment she's been waiting for, a chance to bounce back after being completely left off the 2024 Olympic roster. Head coach Kara Lawson and Team USA managing director Sue Bird have had Clark under a microscope ever since she stepped into the WNBA. They weren't just watching her shatter rookie records, they were measuring her evolution, how she leads, how she lifts teammates, and how she changes the entire rhythm of a team. Clark arrived in Durham with extra weight on her shoulders. A groin injury had cut her 2025 WNBA season short, while other players spent the year building their cases. The timing couldn't have been worse for someone fighting to prove she belonged on the national stage. But the truth? Lawson and Bird already knew enough. Her first 2 seasons showed them a player who could reshape an entire franchise. Look at what happened in Indiana. Clark didn't just help Aaliyah Boston, she elevated her. Boston went from a strong interior presence to a dominant two-way force. Their pick and roll became the heartbeat of the Fever offense. Clark delivered passes through defenders like she had X-ray vision, and Boston finished everything with power at the rim. Kelsey Mitchell experienced the same surge. She had always been a bucket, but Clark's playmaking opened scoring windows Mitchell had never enjoyed before. With defenses collapsing on Clark every night, Mitchell suddenly had cleaner, easier shots, and her efficiency exploded. Even Lexi Hull saw her career transformed. What began as a rotational role turned into a steady starting job. She became a reliable shooter and a versatile defender, all because Clark consistently created open looks and made the game easier for everyone around her. That was the difference that stuck with the Team USA staff. This wasn't just about individual brilliance. This was about a player who could raise the level of an entire roster. What impressed Bird and Lawson most wasn't Clark's college resume. It was how much she grew once she went pro. She learned when to slow the game down, when to take over, and when to trust her teammates. She embraced coaching, mastered complex offenses, and adapted her style to whatever the moment demanded, and anyone watching can see it instantly. Her chemistry with Aaliyah Boston is undeniable. Clark and Boston ran pick and rolls that defenders simply couldn't solve. Clark's passes hit Boston in stride every single time, and Boston's dives to the rim created effortless buckets. To the coaching staff, that duo wasn't just effective, they looked like the future backbone of Team USA's offense. Meanwhile, not everyone found that same groove at the pro level. Angel Reese struggled to adjust to the speed, spacing, and decision-making that international basketball demands. What worked for her in college didn't always translate when the competition got sharper. Against elite defenders, she couldn't consistently create her own shot, and her passing wasn't clean enough to run point forward sets, something that became painfully clear during her stints handling the ball with the Chicago Sky. Clark, on the other hand, used those training sessions to prove she had matured far beyond her college scouting report. She wasn't just the long-range shot maker and highlight pass creator people remembered. She had become a complete floor general. Efficient scoring, crisp facilitation, smart reads, and total command of the offense. That's why the staff trusted her. Clark didn't earn a starting role because of hype, media love, or fan pressure. She earned it because she outperformed veteran guards and showed she could adapt to any lineup she was paired with. Her chemistry with the national team, especially with Boston anchoring the paint, was impossible to overlook. Clark wasn't just joining the roster, she was becoming the foundational piece Kara Lawson could build around for the 2026 World Cup and the 2028 Olympics. The Olympic snub that once looked like a massive setback ended up fueling her rise into a different level of player. And that's exactly why Reese's anger over being benched makes so much sense. This isn't a one-time reaction. It fits a long-running pattern of jealousy and resentment toward Clark. Anyone who's been paying attention saw this coming years ago. It started with those accidental flagrant fouls, plays that looked anything but accidental when you watched the replays. Reese repeatedly made overly physical contact with Clark in ways that went well beyond normal basketball intensity. Officials might have labeled them routine fouls, but slow motion told the truth. These weren't spontaneous. They were controlled attempts to rattle Clark, and who can forget the Kennedy Carter incident in 2024? Carter blindsided Clark with a cheap shot, and cameras immediately caught Reese on the bench, clapping and celebrating the hit. She wasn't discreet, she wasn't concerned, she was thrilled that someone from another team leveled Clark. That moment exposed everything she really felt. Most players would have stayed neutral or shown basic empathy. Reese cheered. Then came the Time Magazine Athlete of the Year announcement. While the sports world congratulated Clark, Reese jumped online with posts centered around herself, talking about being overlooked and underappreciated, conveniently timed right after Clark received one of the biggest honors in athletics. No coincidence, no subtlety, just another moment revealing the same underlying bitterness. Angel Reese's Reebok shoe launch became a perfect example of how badly she's been trying to keep up with Caitlin Clark's brand power. Reese made the bold decision to debut her signature Reebok sneakers in Indianapolis, Clark's home market, the heart of Indiana fever territory. The plan was obvious: walk into Clark City and steal the spotlight. But it couldn't have gone worse. The event was practically empty. In a city where Clark sells out entire arenas, Reese couldn't even pack a small venue for a promotional appearance. It instantly became one of the most humiliating marketing misreads we've seen in women's sports. The visual alone told the truth. Indiana belongs to Clark. Then came the infamous "I can play golf too" moment. During the offseason, Clark had taken over the golf world, joining Pro-Am tournaments, earning praise from LPGA pros, and showing she actually had real skill. Clark's crossover impact was something no WNBA athlete had ever accomplished before. She wasn't dabbling, she was impressing legitimate golf circles. But instead of cheering her on, Reese tried to inject herself into the conversation. Out of nowhere, she claimed she could play golf as well. It didn't land. Reese had never shown interest in the sport, never showcased ability, and never hinted at pursuing golf until Clark started dominating those headlines. Fans saw the comment for what it was: jealousy disguised as swagger. The pattern only grew from there. Whenever Clark announced a major partnership, Reese followed up with her own brand deals days later. When Clark appeared in national commercials, Reese posted about her endorsement shortly after. Every business move Reese made seemed like a reaction to Clark's success, an attempt to keep up with someone whose momentum was already years ahead. Even Forbes recognizing Clark as the most powerful female athlete on the planet stirred another round of subtle responses from Reese. Instead of celebrating the moment for women's basketball, Reese shifted the spotlight back to herself, framing her own journey as the real story people should be focused on. Time after time, the same theme showed up. Whenever Clark climbed higher, Reese tried to pull the attention back toward herself, whether through overly physical plays, cryptic social media posts, or competitive business announcements. Now, with Clark earning a starting spot on Team USA while Reese sits on the bench, that long-running jealousy arc has finally hit its peak. Team USA's decision isn't just about who scores more points, it's validation of who truly impacts the game. On the court and off it, Clark isn't just a basketball star, she's a full-blown brand powerhouse. While Reese leans into drama, Clark built a market empire rooted in real performance and real influence. And the numbers prove it. Nike didn't just sign Clark, they invested in her the same way they once invested in Michael Jordan. A reported $28 million contract, her own signature line, revenue sharing, and a global branding push that Reebok simply couldn't match. Clark's signature CC logo release generated more hype across social media than Reese's entire Reebok launch did. The logo lit up Times Square, dominated timelines, and her merch sold out within hours every time it hit shelves. Meanwhile, Reese is still trying to catch up. If you really want to know who moves the needle in women's sports, just look at the resale market. Caitlin Clark's merch doesn't just sell out, it spikes to double or triple its original price the moment it hits secondary platforms. Fans are willing to pay premium just to rep her gear. Meanwhile, Angel Reese's big Reebok reveal during All-Star Weekend couldn't escape Clark's shadow, even though Clark wasn't even playing because of injury. That's how massive Clark's presence is. Her absence generated more buzz than Reese's entire signature shoe launch. Clark's crossover into golf only widened the gap. Her Pro-Am appearances, especially at Pelican Golf Club, exploded across sports media. Suddenly, fans who'd never watched a single WNBA game were fully tuned into Clark's journey. Nike Golf jumped in immediately, building promotional tie-ins around her golf content. The LPGA noticed too and locked in a multi-year partnership with Clark because they understood the value she brings. She attracts audiences far outside traditional basketball circles. And then you have the speaking circuit, seven-figure opportunities, virtual events starting at $100,000 a session. Companies aren't paying those prices just to hear from an athlete. They're paying to hear from someone redefining an entire sports landscape. The Long Island Association shelled out premium rates just to have her headline their fall conference. Clark represents a rare kind of breakthrough success that business leaders across industries want to learn from. Meanwhile, Reese's Reebok line continues to struggle. Sales are flat, engagement is weak. The rollout barely made a ripple compared to the tidal wave Clark creates every time Nike drops something new. Even in peak promo windows, Reese's shoe launch failed to catch fire, and her endorsement announcements draw only a fraction of the engagement Clark gets effortlessly. Retail numbers don't lie. They show the gap between real star power and forced storyline hype. Forbes certainly saw it. They named Clark the fourth most powerful woman in all of sports, ranking her alongside CEOs and global business leaders. That recognition isn't based on potential. It's based on quantifiable influence, revenue impact, and cultural reach. Clark boosts ticket sales, upgrades media contracts, and generates business value everywhere she goes. Team USA only amplified her brand even more. Being selected and starting opens the door to Olympic-level sponsorships on a global scale. Companies want athletes who perform under the brightest lights, and Clark fits that mold perfectly. Olympic athletes attract endorsement rates few others can touch, and Clark's new role puts her directly in that tier. Brands invest where results are guaranteed, and Clark delivers every single time. Sales, buzz, cultural momentum, they all spike when her name is attached. Team USA didn't just elevate her basketball resume, it injected millions into her brand value overnight. While Reese sits on the bench, corporate sponsors are watching, and they know exactly who the world is tuning in for. Clark's business empire keeps expanding, while many of her peers are still trying to figure out how to create lasting consumer connection. And the biggest takeaway? Clark's rise from being snubbed for the Olympics to becoming a Team USA starter is proof that excellence beats drama every single time. She turned that disappointment into fuel, and it pushed her into an entirely higher tier of dominance. The 2026 Fever season is now must-see basketball. With Olympic-level training under her belt, Clark is returning to Indiana sharper, smarter, and even more dangerous. On top of already shattering 62 records as a rookie, Angel Reese can stay frustrated on that bench. Clark is too busy rewriting the future of women's basketball. If you're Team Caitlin, drop hashtag babygoat over baby giraffe in the comments. Hit like, subscribe, turn on notifications, and click the video on screen. We'll see you in the next one.